Alright, my steering stuff came in from Speedway. These are 1937 to 48 Ford steering arms, but they're going to be easy to fabricate. I'm going to change this here. So 5 inches is the distance between the ball joint center and the steering arm on a 4th gen Camaro that I've got steering rack out of. This will give me 20% more steering angle if I can do it at 4 inch. So I'm going to have a hole somewhere around here for the Beretta. And these are my 14 millimeter rod ends, which are going to go on the steering rack itself. And then this is going to be a 14 millimeter hole where it hooks in here. I am thankful Speedway Motors puts all these dimensions online. I put longer Allen head bolts through the wheel bearing. This kind of sits on there like it's supposed to. There's a little slop, really not much at all. And I'm going to nut these down, obviously. And I'm thinking I may also weld these. I can use that nickel wire with this cast iron, and welded and nutted should be nice and solid. My tie rod end here. Here we are on the Camaro rack. I will have to thread this back further, I think, because when I turn this thing back straight, this is too long. I had a feeling it would be. So I bought a die so I can thread this back further, cut this down, and get the width that I need. I'm also thinking I should probably bend that piece. Not sure how I'm going to do that. That is 400 thousandths thick steel plate. All right, well, it's a little sketchy trusting China steering stuff in the first place. And I didn't love how these were set up to barely grab those U-joints. And I searched double D U-joints, and I got these 3/4 round. So I added this washer in here, and I added Loctite to these screws. That gives me a little bit more confidence. And I drilled and tapped these so that now my 1032 here will grab onto the flat of the double D shaft itself. I think I'm going to tack them as well. So I've been busy and haven't been filming like anything, but here's my steering coupler. This is a 3/4 double D shaft. This is going to be my bearing at the firewall itself, because the steering shaft, the steering column itself has no bearing, because from the factory it goes straight into the steering rack on the firewall. Okay, there's my double U-joint, and these are my heims that I've got to make braces for. I got to brace these so that double U-joint is not flopping around. And here's a single U-joint and the rag joint. So I wondered about running this straight to the rack and eliminating the rag joint, but the size of the D shaft, the flats on it, are way different. And there's not a great way to fix that other than trying to machine the shaft on this, because I don't know how the hell I would try and machine the inside of the double D here. So it's going to have a rag joint, which is the same as it would be before anyway. Hopefully there's not too much play in the steering here. It should be decent. I guess we'll find out. I'm pulling all this stuff out now to bring it home and make a bracket for the 2 of these that I can fasten to the frame rail, well, the unibody frame rail, and make this all happen. I used and abused this China die here, but it did the job. Got this thing threaded another like 5 inches, 5.5 inches, and I'm going to end up having to cut this off, but I'm going to do that after I mock it up. I haven't done a very good job of video on this part of the project, but I had my buddy bend these brackets that I got from Speedway so that they'll be closer to where I need the tie rod to be, and building my steering shaft. Okay, when this rod end is on here and everything lines up, puts the threads right where I don't want them to be. This was the hex adjuster, and I've got plenty of room to move it back where I have full thread. I don't love it being right on this hex part. You can see how the threads are funny. So I think what I'm going to do, rather than this, is an adjustment sleeve. And then I couldn't find anything that was M14 1.5 with a stud already in the end of the heim here. And they do have them for other sizes. So whether I can buy or whether I have to make an adjustment sleeve that's M14 1.5 by whatever it needs to be to get me the stud that I want here, then I'll be better off. These bent arms here fit pretty nice though. I think those are going to work decent. And I got my bracket made for the steering shaft here. And I made another piece of angle, which I'm going to weld onto the car here. And then this whole bracket will unbolt from the other bracket. So we have Camaro rack, which bolts directly to a Beretta rag joint. The Beretta rag joint bolts onto this 3/4 double D shaft. We have a 3/4 double D U joint. Supports. This is a 3/4 round double U joint. I couldn't find a 3/4 double D, so I drilled and tapped these for set screws, and I'm going to actually tack them too. This is going to be the firewall bearing itself, and then this is where it bolts into the little coupler, the solid coupler that I found for the steering column. So this has a pair of set screws. One screws right onto the flat part of the double D, and then the other screws right into that little notch that I put in there. And the steering column already has that notch for where the factory rag joint hooks to it. Oh, this works so nice for tapping. Just loosen this baby up, turn the chuck, and there you go. One down, one more to go. Okay, so now I've got what may be the world's only 14 millimeter by 1.5 by 5/8 left-hand thread tie rods done. I think I'm gonna have to shorten them because right now the rack is centered in its travel, and that's where the wheel is. So this is gonna have to get shortened quite a bit. I knew I was gonna have to cut the tie rod itself, because that's part of the reason to doing this, is to get rid of that part that was a hex. But I'm going to have to shorten the tie rod too, it looks like. Because that's great steering angle, but that's with the steering wheel pointed straight right now. Well, I certainly fixed my concern about having enough length with running just the regular Heim joint to the end here and doing this sleeve to give me extra length. So I'm going to have to chop the sleeve down, and I'm going to have to tap this back a little further, and we'll modify this again. This is what, like attempt number 3 or 4 at steering now? Okay, shortened them up and I got success here. I got a couple pieces that I cut off that I'm going to drill, make a little spacer here to help with my tie rod angle a little bit, because I'm going to have a little bit of bump steer, but I actually don't hate the fact that this doesn't come down parallel, because this boot would be rubbing on the subframe itself. So I'm okay with that. This will have plenty of clearance through the travel, it looks like, too, so no issue there. I just got to take these back to the lathe, clean up the ends, put flats on them so I can turn these, and should be in good shape. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Got the tie rod sleeves all together on both sides. We got wheels that are pretty straight, and the steering shaft, since I'm using this double U joint up at the top, you got to have a brace for it, and the same thing with this rag joint that wiggles a little bit too. So I've got this bracket that I made. I'm gonna have to re-drill the holes because I gotta make it fit where I can make it fit. But I'll Sharpie this, clean it all up, weld it in there. I'll make a couple of braces too once this engine and everything comes out to do the finish work. But then I will have tires connected to steering wheel. How about that? That's been a long time. Okay, this is very low tech, but this should be somewhere around 35 degrees of steering angle, it looks like. I'm not sure what a factory Beretta is. This should be less than a factory Camaro because I'm using the Ford end, and I've got marks where the factory Camaro geometry is going to come back a little bit, and I want to add like 20% to Camaro geometry. So this is at like 5 3/4 now, something like that, 6 inch, and 4 inch is where I want to be. So here we are, another couple weeks without as much done as I really wanted to get done, but made some progress, got steering going, that's big. But I got to take this stuff home, so I started making my actual plate. This is my mock-up here for the bearing that goes through the firewall itself. Gotta get my hole saw at home, take care of that boy, I'm also going to tack weld these U-joints and stuff. I've got them screwed on here, but I'm also going to tack weld them. Make sure that stuff has no chance of loosening up and losing steering. A couple more videos that are going to be coming up soon are the pedals, when I got to get those done. And I also have to convert the wiring harness on this from truck to Camaro so I can use the reverse lockout for the 6-speed. That's actually not that bad to do. I did a segment swap in LS Droid for the 4.8 engine with a 6-speed manual transmission. It looks like that should all work pretty good. So I've got to do that, get a video together for it. I was hoping to have this thing running by the end of August, because I got this thing the end of August last year. But there's still quite a bit to do before then. But I'll keep plugging away. I got to have this thing driving before the snow flies and do burnouts. Once the pedals are done, I'm going to get this thing off my old man's lift and get it back to my place, because I think I can make faster progress at my place than I can here. It's nice having this lift and everything to work on, but I also don't get down here as much as I would like to get working on it. And if I had it back at my place, I could work on it every night once the kiddo goes to bed. Make progress a little more consistently. There's certainly a lot done on this thing, but a long way to go too. So the end of August, realistically, is probably not going to happen, but it will be burning tires before snow flies. I got a new set of tires sitting in my garage waiting for it. It'll be done before then, but I don't know how much before then.